Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of iTie, Indie Time Interview Edition. You know what? This is the abbreviation of my show, and I always kind of like have to remember what it means. iTie is basically a show where I interview video game indie developers. So today we have a very special person, and he's in the work to create a pretty cool game. A turn-based RPG, which I'm a very big fan of. So very exciting. We have a lot of questions for them. But before we do that, I just want to let you guys know what is different in this show compared to other interview shows. And the only difference is that I wear a tie. So yes, today I am wearing my nice controller with pluses tie. Hopefully you're enjoying it. It might be the first time I'm wearing it. I'm not sure. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. Now, before we start, I'm just going to go ahead and see who's in the chat. So it looks like we got Javer here. Welcome, Javer, to the stream. I don't know if you've been here before, but yeah, every Friday we interview a indie developer, so it's pretty amazing. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. We've got Gald RPG. Interesting. I wonder what he's doing here. Maybe we'll see sooner than later. We got Zarina. Hello, Zarina, and welcome. We've got Four Scars Gaming. Hello. He says, I can't wait for this interview. Now, John has proven some interest in this game during the stream, so maybe he'll be purchasing it or even try the demo. We'll see what happens. And Zarina says, very nice tie. Well, thank you, Zarina. I should wear these public at some point, but I've purchased them for the purpose of this of these interviews, but I wonder if at some point I'll be wearing them for other purposes. But yes, without further ado, let us go ahead and introduce the one, the only, Gald, who is the creator of The Last Chronomancer. How are you doing, Gald?
Hey, thanks for the introduction, Ninja. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Today was my first day at work. I was on some vacation, so I just worked today and then I'm back off for the next 2 days. So it's pretty cool. So from what I've heard, you're all the way to Calgary, Canada, right? So we are.
Yeah, we'll see for how long. But yeah, no, that's true. And apologies, I didn't get the dress code. I'll have to get a tie on later. But yeah, no,
Maybe you can edit a tie on your org there. That'd be
orcs look good in ties. It should be all right.
Yeah.
But out in Calgary myself, and I guess we got a Canadian connection going, which is good.
Here you go. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Gladiator is the person who introduced me to you, and fast forward to today, we're here doing an interview, so it's pretty cool. So, we've got a nice list of questions for you, Gold. I finished the demo. The demo is very bulky, lots of time that you can play in it, and I've just put a lot of questions. Very curious about the game, so I'm gonna go ahead and open that up, and I just want to, for the people who don't know you, Gold, can you introduce yourself? And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I guess the handle is gold. I guess I'm an indie developer working on my first game here called The Last Chronomancer. And as you mentioned before, it's a turn-based JRPG. And it's been a few years, and here I am. I guess that's my introduction.
Sweet. But what I'm curious is a little bit of background on yourself. So how, when did it all started? When did you start gaming up until when you decided to yourself, you know what, I'm going to start creating a game? What is the story behind all of this?
Well, I am pretty old, so I suppose many, many, many years ago is when I started gaming, just as a young pup. But, it was, I guess, I can't remember when the first video game or computer game I played was. I don't know. I would have been like 4 or something, but, 4 to 6, somewhere in there. But gaming on and on and on. That's been kind of a lifelong thing. But as far as developing and getting my own game, I guess the last 4 years approximately, I had kind of written up a D&D campaign for friends and family, but then that never was able to go through with being scheduled. And I used to play D&D way back in the day, and then just a bunch of friends and family were like, hey, have you ever played D&D? I see it mentioned in TV a lot. And I was like, well, I haven't done it for like over a decade. But I was like, all right, let's go create my own world and my story and all these characters. And then after like 4 or 5 sessions, we just never did it again. I thought, it's
That's too
gone.
bad.
But then one day my brother, one of my younger brothers, he posted a game. He's like, oh yeah, I've been making this new game in RPG Maker, and I kind of remembered RPG Maker from, I guess, many, like even then from like the 2000. And I was like, oh, he's like, I'm like, is this a new version? He's like, yeah, you can make your own side battlers and this and that. And I thought, I'm like, well, I already got a story I wanted to tell. I already got characters. I already got a world I was built. You know, like I was a huge fan of JRPGs. I thought maybe I'll get into it, and yeah, so it's been a 4-year journey from there.
Wow, that's amazing. So the engine you're using is RPG Maker, but is it like the latest one? Is it RPG Maker MZ? I think that's the latest version, right?
I think MZ, but I think I don't know if Unite is officially out yet, but no, I'm using MV, which is a little bit older.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I used it because it was kind of the most modern at the time when I started, and at the time it had a lot of free plugin support, which allowed me to kind of make the game that I was envisioning, which for the most part was a lot of features from other classic RPGs. So
yeah, for sure, and we're gonna get into that also, because I'm very curious what was influence, in this game. But before we do that, I'm very curious to know if you're a solo developer. So the demo that you've created and then the full game, is it only you who's been working on that, or have you been getting any help from other people for creating like the music, the graphics, or anything?
I have a sweatshop over in Bangladesh, and for the most part, I'm just kidding. No, no, for the most, it's all me. No, when I say it's all me, though, that sounds. I mean, I am a solo developer. I think it's fair to say that, but it's not exactly a fair statement, because, like I was mentioning before, there's lots of plugins that were created for the community and then were available for free. There's a lot of graphics and audio resources, and honestly, the kind of group I buddied up with there. Sanctuary Games. Those guys, especially since buddying up with them and kind of forming our little hideaway there, that's been, I guess, a huge benefit for game development, because between the group of us, we have some guys there that are musically talented like crazy. We have some of the more artistic talent. We have some guys in there that are amazing coders. So between the group of us, we can kind of reach out to one another, like, hey, can one of the graphics guys kind of help me out with this, or hey, can one of the audio guys like whip me up a nice little quick tune, and hey, I'm stuck on this coding, does anybody know a way to get this solved? And the immediate collaboration and the fact that we're all kind of familiar with one another, so as much as I want to say, hey, look, I'm a solo developer, I'm a solo developer who couldn't have gotten to where I am without the help of a lot of people. Gotcha.
So you guys are collaborating, so sometimes they're going to ask you also for your help for certain things, kind of thing, or
big time. Okay. And a lot of the art, like the like even the little avatar you've got there or whatever, that's my stuff. I've drawn that myself, and then
wow.
I finally put that the couple of years of art school to good use. So they weren't very helpful before that, but
yeah, I love something that I love, and that's something that I really miss from games. So in Fire Emblem, the first Fire Emblem on Game Boy Advance, every time you would finish a chapter, they would reward you with a very nice picture, right? A very nice pixelated picture of the story. And I've seen that you did that. You, like the Chronomancer is showing sometimes, and it's such a beautiful picture. And when you show that big Coliseum statue in the game, it's amazing. I was wondering if you're the one who did that. And when we see these things, I just feel like it's so rewarding in a game. So it's cool to see that you're the one who did that.
Oh, thanks. It's and there's more to come for sure. And I think even from the demo, I've even added in at least one image there for one of the cutscenes to kind of give it a bit oomph and drama to it. And
yeah. Oh man, I think I can imagine maybe the prison scene, but that's
it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I knew it. That's man. When I saw that scene, I'm getting ahead of myself, but when I saw that scene, like I had to stop and I was like, what? That was such a good scene. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. This game really excited me, as you might have noticed. But anyway, so today, so we're not here just to talk about Gold, but we're here to talk about a specific game that he's created. So the name of the game is called The Last Chronomancer. So it's a game with a very interesting story. I think that's the best point of the game, is just the story is amazing. It's chef kiss for sure. So, can you tell us a little bit about what the game is about?
I guess the elevator pitch would be that it's a story about a chronomancer, a time traveling mage or wizard that has seen something awful in the future, and so she's seen kind of the end of the world, and so she's going back to try and find the six heroes that she saw at this big fateful moment, which was the end of the world, and basically help guide them to that moment and help try to change fate.
That's crazy. But there's so much more to the story. The character development and just the whole story. It's just so good. The game has 6 characters that you go through, and there's even more characters that adds up to it. But just the way that you explain them in the whole story, you kind of get get attached to all of them, and they all have like a different story, and I just really like that part. That you've developed.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm a big appreciator of film and cinema. So from my point of view, I'm like, it's good to have a story, but if your characters don't feel real, it'll be really hard for you to feel, any investment for them. So, well, thanks. I'm glad glad it's resonating. I'm glad it's hitting the marks, and I try to provide enough. I guess diversity of characters, both in terms of like how they play in the gameplay sense and how they are as characters. Because some characters, some people either love them or hate them. Johann the cleric is probably the best example, where some people are like, he's my favorite. He's this womanizing, cheating, man of the cloth or whatever. And other people are like, this guy's a terrible cleric. I hate him. He's just obnoxious. Like he's just trying to like get into everybody's pants. Like I hate this guy. And so I, to be fair, I'm like, but having a polarizing character. I don't know. From my point of view, it's not necessarily bad. I mean, and you obviously have the option of not putting them on your party for the majority of the game. And
yeah, that's what I like. You would never expect a cleric to be that much of a lady type of guy.
A womanizer.
Womanizer.
It kind of went back to when I was originally coming up with the characters, because I didn't want to. Again, it was people that weren't familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, so I was like, I got to create characters that they're going to want to play, and I knew that one of my friends, I'm like, if I give him a cleric and he has to sit there and praise the sun god every minute, he's going to get bored and not want to do it. So I thought about other religions and other types of gods that a cleric could worship, and I thought, well, we have Loki, who's kind of one of the northern gods, and he was kind of a trickster god. And I said, well, what if the cleric worshipped a trickster god rather than, let's say, the god of lightning or the god of whatever. So that was kind of the direction I went, and I just ran with it at that point.
Yeah, that's true, because there's a mention of that trickster god a few times in the game. Now I get what you mean.
There's more coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you mentioned previously that you had some inspiration for the game of creating the Last Chronomancer. So what kind of game inspired you to make that game?
Final Fantasy VI would be the biggest one. That one I still go back and replay on a regular basis. And very similar to kind of the sentiments you were, or the praise you were showering on me, for the same reasons. Story and character. I know everyone's like, well, it's a bit dated and it doesn't really hold up, which is somewhat true. But I think the main points were that you had a full world of different characters, and again, maybe each one's story didn't connect with you, but chances are one of them would. And it had a lot of very mature content. You had like Celeste wanting to commit suicide, and Cyan's family being murdered, and then him having to finally like say goodbye to that with the Phantom Train, and very mature subject matter in kind of wrapped inside of a chibi faced what looks like a kid's game, right? And so I don't know, I think that was probably by far and away the strongest influence. Touches of Chrono Trigger, whether it's the crossroads of time or kind of that time travel science aspect, and then I'd say touches of Lufia here and there, or touches of Legend of Zelda. I'd say, it's strange enough, a lot of the other influences would be stuff like Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft, which aren't really RPGs in the same sense. They're not turn-based RPGs, I guess. And then as far as media goes, Game of Thrones, and probably some Dark Crystal in there as well.
Wow, Dark Crystal, that's an old one.
Yeah, that one I kind of didn't realize that it was an influence until I was looking at the scene with the light crystal kind of being suspended to the chains, and I thought, and when I rewatched Dark Crystal, I was like, that's probably where I got that idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conscious decision, but I'm like, it was probably embedded pretty deep in there. But
That's nice. Something that I complain a lot when I stream is that newer games, I feel they lack in the storytelling, right? I don't feel like there's a lot of development. It's mostly just hack and slash, and you don't hear a lot about the story. There is a few far in between that happens, but that's what I like about your game is just the character development. Like you said, it's just amazing. I'm gonna say that a lot.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I did some digging because of this interview, of course. And I've seen the website, and the last development log that you've put in there was in April 2021. Is there anything that happened since that date and today? In terms of development?
As far as whatever I guess released to the public, no.
Okay.
Because I kind of realized probably at that point, initially I actually had just like a 1 hour demo. That was, and then I kind of expanded it to like a full chapter 1 because I kind of realized that 1 hour was good for piquing interest. Like a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, I liked it, like this got some, like I'm intrigued by this. But once I put in the full chapter 1, if people were intrigued by it, they could actually just go ahead and play another day, and they could keep playing in that single day up to 4 or 5 hours. And then I noticed that when people played for 4 or 5 hours, they would usually walk away going, man, I am now a fan of this game. Like I actually have grown it. And I think the reason why is that in an hour you can be introduced to a world and you can be introduced to the characters, but you probably won't have developed an attachment with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the 4 or 5 hours, you're probably like, no, I know how these people are related to each other, and like I actually care about them more, and I do want to see how this all plays out now. And so that was kind of the reason but after I got the chapter 1 demo, which was the 2021 that you mentioned, I just kept plugging away, kept adding chapters, kept working on it, but I didn't release any of it publicly because I do run the risk of, hey, I don't know for sure. I'm pretty confident actually that the chapter 1 demo, the save files will not be compatible with the final version.
Okay.
And I didn't want to have to keep spending so much time releasing and re-releasing chapter updates or patch updates, and then having to be like, well, sorry guys, you have to delete it again and start all over. So I figured, look, the chapter 1's demo is there, you'll get a good sense of it all, and then I figured I'd just kind of hold off on the marketing and the spamming of that for the time. But I guess it's been a couple of years now, I guess. But,
yeah. What have you done? Because a 5-hour game, I'm so invested in it now, but now I just can't I can't play it anymore. So I'm so hyped for the full game to come out. It's crazy.
I did sneak out well, it was probably even a year or so ago. I did sneak out a 3-chapter release to a couple of streamers just to kind of test it out and beta test it. But and I think I have done a fair bit of improvement as far as I know you were having major issues with the 3D engine, and I did make some fixes to the just the overall performance of it and the encryption of some of the stuff to make it just kind of easier to use. So those will probably be fixed up. But who knows? Thanks again for being the guinea pig and kind of noticing those problems and trying some fixes for it. But as far as the work, I mean, even as of last night, I've been working on the kind of the bare bones structure, finishing up chapter 7. So that'll kind of give you an estimate as to how much. And the 7 of 8. 8 is going to be the final chapter.
Wow.
And,
okay.
Like the end is in sight. I'd say well, I think I'll have at least a beta version ready to go by the end of the year.
Yeah.
With a bit of luck and with a bit of dedication, maybe public.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know. I don't want to jinx it and say like, oh yeah, guys, it'll be out this year for sure, and then life will show up and make me a liar.
So estimated date end of the year. That's what
for a beta copy for testing. Yeah, I think that's. I think I can say
okay.
that.
And by that time, you'll probably start advertising it more, right? And
correct.
Put it
I think
out there.
a good few. Once I kind of get everything relatively settled, I'll probably be throwing it on Steam. I'll probably look into going public with that, and then if that all goes well, then I'll maybe start looking into stuff like cross-platform or.
No way! Oh my gosh!
Well, I'll try. Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, priority 1 is just get the game done before I die of old age. But then,
yeah, that's true.
Priority 2 would be make it as accessible as possible so that as many people can try it.
Yeah.
Yes, Scars, I'll set that up. Sorry, I'm just seeing the questions come in. I mean, once it goes on Steam, I'll definitely let everybody know once it pops up there.
Yeah, they seem pretty hyped about it. So yes, we'll get it on a few platforms. I would love it to see it on Switch for sure, because this type of game is so much better to play on the go, right?
And the only thing is I don't know if it is compatible, like as far as
I know what you mean. The engine is limited.
Yeah, and I didn't want to waste too much time looking into that rather than sacrificing just getting it done, to be honest.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, so yeah, we talked about the demo, which is actually available for free for anyone who wants to try. It's a very, very bulky demo. Like we mentioned, it's it takes about 4 to 5 hours to finish. Like, you know what, Gal? I actually had to look up your website and Twitter and YouTube just to make sure that I understood that this was the demo and you didn't release the full game already, because I was like, oh my gosh, did he actually release the full game and I just don't understand? But no, it's actually
for free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm getting this game for free. What the heck? So I have the link of the demo in my description of the video if anybody is interested in playing it. So can you tell us what the player can expect by playing this demo?
I think we kind of touched on it. I think during the course of the demo, you'll have a nice sense of how the game plays as far as gameplay goes. I think you'll get a good sense of the world that it happens, the overall basic story, and a good introduction to at least the 6 main characters, if not a few others that are kind of snuck in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so you mentioned that the saves won't transfer. So what I'm wondering is, at the beginning of the game, you can select one of the 6 characters. So is it worth doing a playthrough for every character? Like, does it change the whole story?
In the demo, even in the demo, yes. Obviously you'll be getting a different introduction because that's you kind of see like a little bit of a backstory for each one. And then throughout the gameplay, if the party ever separates, which does happen even in the demo, you will kind of follow the member or members that separate. And then there's actually like certain specific scenes that will only happen if you're playing a certain character. And as the game gets longer, more and more of that kind of unique content will happen.
Oh, wow. I love
that. And then
obviously,
obviously I'm kind of projecting beyond the demo. And obviously at the very end of it, I will be putting in very similar to Chrono Trigger, a new game plus feature so that you'll be able to kind of restart it, but at the higher level. So the replays will be a lot quicker and faster. And, even as the game goes on, there's a lot of decision making where you can't choose both options. So for instance, like if you're in a kingdom and it's a civil war is breaking out, you get to choose which side you would support out of 3 different kingdoms, but you can only choose one. And then obviously, depending on who you choose, that determines certain events play out or how certain items get awarded to you. And if you want to be a completionist, well, you're going to have to do it all over again, I suppose. But
fun time. So there's going to be like completion, the reason for completion, like achievements and things like that.
Yeah, once I get it ready for Steam, I'll definitely be showing a whole bunch of those.
Very interesting. I got a question for you that I did not put in my list here. Who's your favorite character in the game?
I'm
evil.
Honestly, yeah, I was gonna say, strange enough, between the 6, I don't honestly have one. I mean, and honestly, I think it depends on the mood a lot. Like sometimes if I'm feeling like in a certain way, I'll be like, yeah, I really want to play this character. I want to play that one. If I had to choose one from the game in general, I'd probably choose the one for the avatar, the monk.
The monk, okay.
He's very kind of been through some stuff and kind of at peace with things and tries to see the bigger picture and turn the other cheek. And I think that's probably my favorite of the group. Wait,
the monk, isn't that the slave king? I'm confused.
The orc, yes, yeah. The orc is the monk.
Okay. So yeah, he's not part of the 6 characters, but you really like him as a side character.
Yeah,
right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. No, that's very cool. I really enjoy that character too. He's the way he acts, he's like destined to be with the group, and I'm sure there's some more surprise that I don't know about that we'll see later on. So I'm very looking forward to that. So the demo came out. I'm gonna say 2 years ago, maybe 3.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of feedback have you gotten since the demo came out?
I'd say since the chapter 1 came out, overall very positive. I think. I mean, for people that don't like it, I think they just wouldn't have clicked on it to begin with or wouldn't have played it.
Okay.
I've had some feedback here of pacing, maybe speed things up here, slow things down there, or. But to be fair, there's been the occasional bug, but I'm pretty adamant about playtesting and doing quality control testing myself. Like I really do test the heck out of it to make sure that there's no way it can be broken. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I'm sure I'm going to miss a whole bunch,
Yeah,
but I have done a pretty good job of not making it feel, I guess, bug riddled or amateur that way. And I think because of that, I think a lot of people kind of recognize that even though it's using a lot of default assets, that I'm still taking it in a very serious manner.
yeah,
And but no, overall, I think like you mentioned before, I think the story and characters resonate with a lot of people, and yeah, for the most part,
that's
it's
good.
been pretty positive feedback. And like I said, for the most part, a lot of times by the time people get to the end of the demo, I think they're very much like
Invested, right?
I'm a fan. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if they if they don't make it to the end of the demo, chances are they didn't like it. They already checked out before that. But yeah, no, it's been good. And to be fair, I mean, I'm pretty good about paying it forward. So obviously, I mean, I try to help out whether it's streamers or other game developers. Like I am about the you know, hey, look, let's kind of share the exposure. Like just because, you know, you know, one game, we're not in competition with each other. Like you know, we're just here to try and help people find stuff that they'd like. And so I think that helps as just as far as community building, because then they get the word out to people who, like you were mentioning, like Guardian might reach out and say, hey, you might be interested in this game, you might like it. And
Hmm.
yeah, so it works out good that way.
Yeah, that's the I find a fun part of all of this, right? Like just communicating with everybody, building communities and things like that. It's just amazing. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, now you know we all know that there's going to be like a super turn-based RPG fan that's going to come in there and she's the final boss, right? There's going to find a way to just get that, you know, use a time stop attack and just, you know, do 9999 damage or something like that. So that's going to be interesting. And
Really looking forward to it. If somebody can pull that off, I'll be pretty impressed, actually.
yeah, oh man,
Yeah,
yeah.
I won't be mad at all. I'll be like, wow, that's you broke it good.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to be like, oh man, I have to go back and put another patch in there now.
I mean, if I make something in there that allows, unless it's actually something that's broken,
Yeah.
no, I'm all about encouraging players to play the game, especially I guess with RPGs like this.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's all about creating a I guess an experience that can be experienced by many different types of players.
Mhm.
So for some people, they're like you mentioned, they're speed runners. They just want to blast through it as quick as possible. They don't really care about the story. The gameplay is just almost like a tedium. Like it's almost like they're just in it for the achievement and the completion.
Yeah.
And you want to make it so that if there's people like there that, you know, want to play it that way, that it's possible. Like they can hold page down to just blast through the dialogue. They can speed up combat a bit by holding the enter button, and you know, it kind of facilitates that kind of gameplay. You want to also facilitate the other kind of gameplay, which is, hey, look, these people want to kind of take a breather in between scenes. They want to go and talk to every NPC. They want to learn the lore about the world.
Mhm.
They want to just kind of take their own slow meandering pace. And so yeah, like I said, it's I think from a developer's point of view, especially for these type of games, that's the way you should cater it. Where if somebody wants to go very straight and linear, they can. If they want to kind of soak it up and absorb more of it and become immersed in it, they have that opportunity as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, and if there if I put something in there that allows you to cheese right through it, hey, that's on me. And hey, all the power for, because I constantly
Awesome.
assume that everybody's constantly trying to break this thing.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure, for sure. You always try to cheese those enemies the best as you can. I'm like in between. Like I like getting invested in a game and the story and everything, but when I go in a village and I see like there's 20 villagers in there, I don't want to talk to them. You know, like I don't want to go one by one and get into the lore. I just want to continue the main story. So
and I
in
find for
between.
myself it depends. If I've got an audience, especially, I'm all about the like boom, let's just go. But if
Yeah.
it's just kind of me by myself, sometimes I like, oh yeah, let's go over here and chat to this, and hey, oh, there's a potion hidden over here. I didn't know that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely like even for myself, I like some people are like, well, what type of player are you? I was like flip a coin. Like I don't know, it depends what day, to be honest.
You know what? Let's put a poll in the chat. What type of player are you? So I'm into the story, or I'm into speed runner, and we'll see the community see what are they mostly into. And
I'm not a player.
no, yeah, I'm sure you'll vote. There you go. All right. So yeah, let me check here. Where was I? I just did that. Oh yeah. So okay. So you know, the demo, like I mentioned, is very bulky, and it's not just a generic RPG made on the RPG Maker. There's a lot of you put a lot of time in there. There's some cutscenes. There's some nice artwork that you're showing. There's some mini games that's in there. So it's very cool. So other than that, so in the full release, should we expect more of these, or is there any kind of new features that we will see in the full game?
Basically, I'd say take whatever's in the demo and then keep multiplying it out. So yes, there'll be more mini games. There'll be I'm still kind of on the fence whether I'm going to put a crafting system in there. I might. There's obviously a lot more cutscenes and more artwork. There's more variety of character classes, so you can get stuff like shape-changing mimics or disruptor classes or samurai or so there's a lot more of all of that coming. There's also split party combat or split party dungeons. We split into multiple groups to kind of solve your objectives and go through dungeons that way. There's split party battles where you have to split into different groups and fight off invading mobs. And eventually by the time the final chapter rolls around, you get access to the full world, and it becomes very open world at that point, and you can kind of explore, and at that point it'll be a lot more kind of side stories and everything else when and if you don't want to just finish the game, I guess. But
oh man, I get so much Final Fantasy VI vibe out of this, because you get to split your party at some point, and like mid game or maybe 3/4 of the game, it gets super open world, right, when the world like collapse somehow.
Yeah. And then once you get the airship in the World of Ruin, it's very well, I think at that one you get almost like a pretty much an open world prior to the big battle on the island, and then after the World of Ruin you get it opened up again after. But and like I said, no coincidence. I'm sure even if it wasn't intentional, it's like a lot of it is intentional, but even if it wasn't, Final Fantasy VI would be the big pull for a lot of it.
Yeah, for sure, because the Slave King, I'm now calling him Sabin, because Sabin.
He's got the monk going, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of release, do you already have like an idea of what the price will be for the game?
I've kind of mulled this over a few times. I think I can't see going more than 15. I think 12, 10 to 15. So I figured I don't know, 12.50, somewhere in around there.
That's Canadian, right?
I don't know.
Or US. Okay.
It depends on the exchange rate, so we'll see. Yeah. maybe I'll make it US. Again, it's my primary purpose for all this was never to do a cash grab. It really was just honestly like the second somebody outside of my friends and family played it, that was it. As far as I'm concerned, I already achieved my success right there. And I do just want as many people as possible to kind of I'm making a game I'm making a game and telling a story that I hope other people would like to play and would like to experience, and I just want to reach as many people as possible that might be into it.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, and it would take some phenomenal amount of success for me to ever break even for the amount of hours I put into it. Even if I was putting those hours into a minimum wage job, it'd be ridiculous. It would be. So there's no way I'm going to make my money back up for the time I spent. So that's why I'm like, well, look, I'm just here to do this, and it's a passion project. I want to share it with as many people that would like it. And honestly, like I said, that's been kind of the big success for me. It's just been getting people all over the world saying like, hey, I just tried your game. I'm over here in Japan and I really liked it, or hey, I'm over here in Japan checking this out. And I don't know, it's pretty awesome, just the fact that I'm able to reach out and find those people, whether it's through Twitter or other social media, and or like you said, like recommendations from people to other people. And
for sure. And you never know, right? You never know. And there's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of developers who can relate that the amount of time they put in their game, right, doesn't match the salary that they should be getting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of them that are in it for the money, that's why I kind of tell them, I'm like, look, this is not the path for you then. If you're in it for the money, do up a real quick demo. In that demo, and I mean like a quick one, like an hour tops, but like showcase all of your skills, whether it's coding or graphics or audio or storytelling or whatever. Just cram that demo full and use that as your resume and get a full-time job at an actual
Ubisoft or something like
game
that,
develop-
right? Yeah.
Exactly, because I'm like, what's an I don't know. I don't know what the average salary is for a junior programmer or
Not
developer or
sure.
artist at any of these things, but I feel pretty confident that the yearly salary for that would be far more than the amount that you make, unless you
Yeah.
happen to really hit it big.
You
but
break like Among Us or something like that. You
yeah,
could break it, but it's very rare. So this is a passion project. You're putting a lot of hours, a lot of years, a lot of gray air into this game. So can after the game's release, are you thinking about maybe doing more games afterwards? Doing some more projects, or is that the only game that you want to work on?
I mean, obviously, right now the goal is just get this one done. Like, I'm not trying to think too much about anything else. With that being said, like I said, the Sanctuary crew and even some of the other expanded crew that we've kind of made friends with recently. I honestly wouldn't mind doing a collaboration project down the road. But if I did, I think it would either be, I don't know. I think I would definitely, yeah, correct. Or if I did, even if I did, I think I'd definitely want to make it like a different genre. I'm thinking, like, I've always really enjoyed the whole cyberpunk storytelling and vibe and atmosphere. So, like a Blade Runner type story might be kind of nice. Or even like I've really enjoyed rewatching Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. Some of the storytelling and technology and the concepts that story deals with. The TV series, I mean. Yeah, fantastic. Just I wouldn't. I would kind of that might be kind of the direction I go. But to be honest, it's one of those things where I don't want to put too much thought into any of it. Kind of similar to the upgrading of the demo or multi-platform or accessibility. I know that somebody's wanting me to put in features for visually impaired, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I will definitely put effort into all of those things, but I'm like, for the time being right now, just keep my eye on the prize and try not to get too distracted.
Yeah, it's all about how popular the game comes, right? Like if it's very successful, thousands of people are buying in that,
and HBO wants to buy the rights.
Exactly. Then why not, right? Like, why not expand it to more people? So it all comes to first Steam, see if it's doing well, then you can you can assess and see what else you can do, right, for the game. So hopefully, we want to see this being super successful. So I hope that it's gonna happen for you.
Well, that'd be nice. I would be pleasantly surprised if it did.
Hey, crossing fingers. I mean, let's keep our hopes up. But it's all about the story because, for example, a game called To the Moon is a very pixelated, artistic kind of game, and it did so well, even though it's just made on a regular engine. So you never know.
Same engine, actually. I think. Well, I don't know if it was I don't know if it was MV, but it was RPG Maker.
Okay, I didn't know that. It felt like RPG Maker, but I didn't want to mention that. But that's why, like, you never know. If people feel, it's hard for you to tell, right? Because you don't know how people will react to your story. But if it's very unique and people talk to each other and all of that, you never know. But I'm keeping my hopes up for it because I've been really enjoying it. Now, before we continue with more questions, I just want to let chat know that we're almost at the end here. We have just a few more questions. So make sure if you have any questions for Galt here, just put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the same time as we ask those questions. But I'll also come up with more questions too because, I'm really intrigued by this game. So, Galt, we talked about the communities and helping out other people. And this is a question that I started asking at people because it's good just to just to give attention to other games for advertising and stuff like that. So if there would be just one indie game that you would like to recommend us, what would it be? It can't be Final Fantasy, just a heads up.
No, it's okay. I assume you mean like another indie game, I assume.
Yeah,
but
you can mention a few also. I know that you have a few friends there, so
okay. The problem is if I try to recommend one, I guess this is the problem is you're saying like, well, come up with one game, but I'm like, again, as we were kind of mentioning, like, what resonates with one person may not resonate with another. If you're looking for something kind of in the same vein as mine, I'd say check out Amneron's Legacy, made by a good friend of mine named Rythane. It's on Steam right now, and it's also based on a D&D story that he's been working on for quite some time, and his has like a full fleshed out like job system. Like you can go into like a multi-class job system. He's got again, same thing, very fantasy medieval world, a big kind of epic story going with it. He puts in a ridiculous amount of work into that one as far as coding and even the custom battlers. He's all drawn all those by himself, and yeah, he's done some fantastic work with that. My friend Will Black, he's worked on Trailblazer, which is a Wild West RPG Maker game.
Oh, I know that game. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
he's also part of it. Like these are all part of
Yeah.
the kind of the Sanctuary crew, but
Yeah.
yeah, that game's again top tier quality all the way around.
Yes, definitely.
Haven by Neo Soul Gamer, another great one.
Yes.
My buddy Patty's, I don't know, he's working on Oath, but I think that's gone through about 3 or 4 engine interpretations. But when it does come out, I have a feeling it'll be pretty amazing. And
Nice.
to be honest, I could probably keep going.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it really depends on like, and again, I'm kind of just limiting it to indie RPG
Yes.
maker
Yeah.
games that I know for sure that, hey, like I've played with these, like I stand by them. They're very good, top quality games. But to be honest, there's lots out there.
Yeah.
And even if I try to limit it to one, it'd be like, well, I like this kind of style. I'm like, oh, well, if you like that style, this game won't be for you actually. So
Yeah.
I have, but yeah, it's more a case of if you're feeling something for sure and you want some more of that, let me know and I'll be able to hook you up.
Yeah. So every time, if I'm out of idea of what game I should play, I'll just go ahead and DM you and just ask you for recommendations. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty good about even if I play something and it's definitely not for me, and I'm like, look, I don't dig this style. It's very over the top, anime or cutesy or horror, and it's just not my wheelhouse. I don't mind kind of saying like, hey, look, it may not be for me, but I know this is a good top quality game of this genre or of this type, and yeah, it's good to recognize the difference between, I guess, preference and overall quality. Just because it's not my preference doesn't mean it's not a good game.
No, for sure. And yeah, I agree with that. I have the same kind of mindset, right? It's good to do that because we see a lot of people online who's like, oh, I don't like this game, I'm going to give it a bad review, right? But they have to like think on what other people think, like, is it a solid game for people who actually like this genre? So
yeah,
like
it seems
this mindset.
It does seem weird to critique and criticize stuff from a genre or a style of game that you don't like to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it'd be like me going and I don't know, checking out the newest like My Little Pony video and then like commenting like, I don't like My Little Pony. I'm like, well, why did I watch it? Like, why did I watch it? Why did I seek out something that was clearly not intended for me or my audience? And then why did I feel the need to, I guess, comment on it and try and it is very weird when I do see that every once in a while and I'm like, this wasn't for you. You know this isn't for you. Like, I guess my game's a good example even because it's turn-based. So a lot of times people are like, it's turn-based. I hate turn-based games and I hate RPG Maker games. I'm like, fair enough. Like, I mean, nobody has to like everything. No. But I'm like, if you knew that, why'd you even download it?
Yeah, right. Because you start the game and you know right away that it's this type of game. So don't continue the game if you know you don't like this.
If I had misled you and been like, no, this is an action RPG, just like Skyrim, and then you went to go start up and you were expecting Skyrim and you got my game, I could understand being bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game, like obviously, right? But yeah. So interesting thing is, I actually started working on a game back in like 2007, between 2007 and 2010, and it was from like the very old RPG Maker version back in the day. It was a cool game. I made the music and I made the script and everything. It was pretty fun. Fun little project, but I never really ended up finishing it because college happened and work happened and all of that. Yeah, exactly. So some people like you are more dedicated than me, and end up being doing these passion projects. So it's cool.
Which is a bit weird. I mean, historically, I guess through most of my life, I've been very much a go for 2 weeks and then I never want to see it again type of person. So I would go really hard into like art projects or storytelling or whatever for like 2 weeks and then I would abandon it and never want to see it again. And like a decade later, I'd be like, what is this? Oh, right. And then, so I, to be honest, I'm not sure how I've been able to stick with this. I think it's because, again, since it was my first game, a lot of it was more of a learning process rather than a doing process. And I think there's so much diversity, again, because it's a solo dev thing where I'm like, well, I need to make sure the music's on point here. I need to find a different tune, or hey, I need to work on the battle system. This doesn't feel right, or hey, the pacing is off. Like hey, I need a new map here. Like I don't need to go and drop a new map. Like, kind of that, I guess, that diversity of all the different things that you need to do is kind of keeping me.
And I mean, when people outside of your friend zone start to liking it, you're kind of screwed. You have to continue now, right? Like when Start
true.
seeing other people outside.
Well, and I'm a huge critic of George R.R. for not finishing A Song of Ice and Fire. So I'd be a pretty hypocritical if I followed in the same path. I was
Yeah.
so mad at him when he stopped working on A Song of Ice and Fire, and he's like, well, hey guys, I've been doing this since like '98. Like, look, I want a break.
Oh
I
my
want to stop doing
gosh.
this. I want to do other stuff. And I was like, fair enough, George. Fair enough. Fair comment. He's like, I want to just do something other stuff. You know what? I want to write other stories. I thought, all right, cool. And then he came out with effectively what became House of the Dragon, those novels. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, oh, I came up with the Dunk and Egg books. And I'm just going to write all these other stories that have to do with the same world. And I'm like, just finish the one, man.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
it was super frustrating because I'm like, I totally got the idea of like, look, he's probably sick and tired of this world. He's sick and tired of these characters. He just wants a break. Fair enough. But then he just took a break to write other stories from that world. And I was like, come on, man.
Oh
like,
my gosh. It's so hypocrite. Yeah. So I'll keep my eyes out. If you don't finish your game and I see the Slave King in another game, I'll I'll make
you
sure
call
to,
it out.
Yeah, I'll call it out for
make
sure.
I'll assemble a legal team of, I don't know,
Yeah.
one guy maybe, and hope for the best.
Yeah, for sure. So I got one last question in my note here, and it's so if you would be able to give any advice to someone who's starting to make an indie dev game, what would it be? So if you would be able to see your old self when he started, working on The Last Chronomancer, what would be like the one advice you would give him?
Probably just if you're going, make sure you know why you're doing this. I think that would be a good goal. I think I think, well, I guess to be fair, I don't know if I would have needed that advice, but I think indie developers should know that, or just artists in general. Know what your goal is for creating this art. If your goal is just strictly monetary, make that the focus of what you're doing. If you're strictly like, look, I want to create a story, I want to create like a short game, make sure that you kind of stick to your artistic vision and be grateful for the pros and cons of what you're doing. So one of the cons of doing what you're doing is you're probably going to have to do almost everything by yourself, and you're not going to have a huge budget to throw at it. And but the pros are you can actually make 100% as long as you're capable of doing it, the game and story you want to make. And that creative freedom is pretty nice, to be honest. It's the one thing that and no deadlines. Like, theoretically, I don't have. I mean, I have self-imposed deadlines, but they're self-imposed, and I can. But it is like kind of cherish that. So yeah, I'd say make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you love what you're doing, and just go forward and follow that passion. I think that's one sentence. Follow that passion.
Nice. So, I mean, from what you're saying, from what I understand from your experience, you've seen all the types of indie developers out there, right? You've seen like the one that wants to make money. You've seen the one that wants to, have you seen anybody who wants it for the glory, for like the popularity, out of curiosity?
Usually the two go hand in hand. If somebody really seeking, let's call it the notoriety and the popularity, chances are they're also seeking the money, I guess.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not necessarily true, I suppose. Some people, I think, just genuinely want almost like that reaffirmation or that positive feedback. A lot of times the developers will get caught doing that. Like, they'll be spamming up every Discord or every bit of marketing, just like, hey guys, I did something new. Hey guys, I did something new. Hey guys, I did something new. And you're like, right, yeah, like, looks good. And they're like the next day they'll be like the same screenshot, the exact same thing, and it's like they'll say they're asking for feedback, but they're not really looking for feedback. What they're looking for is kind of just like that bit of an ego boost of like, wow, this looks so good. And I've seen a bit of that, I guess, going on. But I guess with glory, I don't know if there's much. I mean, maybe there is some developers who are looking for the glory. I guess it seems silly to me, especially in the RPG maker community, because I'm like, you're not to be too harsh, but I'm like, this is not a place to get huge numbers.
No.
And like even my game, people were asking that, and I said, look, I don't think you realize how niche of a market this is, because I'm like, first of all, it's an indie game, so AAA games obviously have huge amount of budget, they have huge amount of marketing, and they have that kind of known. I guess they're known as AAA games, so they automatically have a built-in sense of quality, even if they don't. It's the reason people will dump 70 hours into a Final Fantasy game they don't like, because they think that they're like, no, it's a legit name. It's from Square Enix. It's
Yeah.
so good. Like I know Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy are good. This is good, right? Even if they hate the entire experience, they'll keep dumping hours into it because they're like, well, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that AAA companies can get away with is they have that brand or they have that name or they have that kind of budget or that association where, and as an indie developer, you don't have that,
No.
and so immediately, yeah, you immediately cut out a lot of your exposure, a lot of your marketing. So you're already a very small percentage of that market if you're an indie game dev. And
Yeah.
then how many of those indie game dev fans are RPG fans? And again, it gets whittled even smaller. And then how many of them are turn-based retro? And again, it becomes like
Yeah.
a small sliver. And then even then, like, oh, well, how many of them are fantasy fans as well as far as the genre goes? And then even then, it's like, and you still run the risk at that point of like, well, they still might not like it.
So,
Like,
so perhaps like they're only gonna get one purchase, and that's gonna be from me. So,
hey man, hey, and I'll appreciate it, and
yeah.
yeah, I'll
But
maybe I'll kick it back to you. I'll buy you a coffee. It'll all balance out.
yeah, but I know what you mean though, because for the people who know RPG Maker, it's been there for a long time now, and for people who know it, they know what to expect. But for the new people who wants to develop and see RPG Maker and they think, oh yeah, I can make good games out of this, but that's the thing. RPG Maker was mostly made for it was just a custom tool for making RPGs, but it kind of developed to a lot more. But I might sound a little bit harsh here, but I'm sure you've heard that before. But even on the Discord when I was talking about your game, there was someone who was like, "What? Like people make money out of RPG Maker games?" But
Well, and there's definitely a good reason for that. RPG Maker in particular, it happens with all engines, but I think with RPG Maker in particular, it was so easily accessible and so
exactly.
available and easy to learn that the problem is just about anybody could create anything that you might even call a game. And then the problem was that they went to Steam and they just dumped everything there. We typically just refer to it as shovelware, where it's basically like they're just shoveling it out of the box. It's like no effort put into any of it. They just scrape it together. And a lot of people do point it out. They say like, oh yeah, like RPG makers, those games are the worst because they see so many of them on Steam that are what we would effectively call shovelware, which is people looking to make a quick buck. They just throw the game on there. They hope that enough people mistakenly click on it or have really low enough standards that they think this is good enough, and then they don't pull the payment back. And it's an ocean of terrible RPG Maker games on there, which unfortunately for the people of us that are using it, because we're like, well, no, I wanted to make an RPG and I wanted to use an engine that was properly set up for turn-based RPGs. And
Mhm.
I mean, this is I'm using the right tool for what I'm trying to create, but unfortunately, yeah, the stigma is there. With that being said, I think so many other engines now are becoming easier to develop in, and I
Yeah.
have a feeling they're gonna kind of feel the same crunch. Be like, oh, this is just a generic Unity game using generic like cheap assets. Like I know where all these are from. This is just cheap shovelware here.
Yeah. Well,
It's not maybe not at the quite ease of use and ease of deployment that RPG Maker's at, but
it's
they're
getting
coming. And
there.
there's a bunch of 3D RPG Maker engines coming pretty soon, and they'll
Oh.
get the same stigma as well.
Yeah, I've seen Unreal Engine. I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to see like graphics that are being used in different games, and it's the same graphics, like the same type of trees and stuff like that. So it's starting to get a little bit overwhelming. So that's the thing. So I'm gonna ask one last question here, since we're on the subject. Is there a way to find the RPG games that stands out? Is there like a rating system somewhere where like
A
where
lot
we
of
can...
Yeah, I'd say reach out to the community, and even there's a lot of streamers that specialize. D757 Gaming, he does a lot of he plays a lot of games, and he even tries to do a little rating system at the end. It's maybe I mean he's got a spreadsheet where he kind of keeps track of it. I don't know if he's made that public, the spreadsheet, but he shows it at the end of his videos, and he kind of breaks them down. And there's been some others, but I'd say he's probably the most prolific. But
Okay.
honestly, if you reach out to the community, yeah, you'll find out very quickly, just based on kind of the community response, because we're pretty good about saying, hey, look, like I've been following this game for a few years, like this person's been doing pretty good over here, and yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I'd say yeah, probably just reach out to the community and yeah, or yeah, just ask me. I'll
Yeah, well, that's what I'll do, right? Like, you'll point me to the right direction of the community and stuff. So, I really enjoy that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Trailblazer. I think that's the name, right? The well-earned
Probably
one.
was good.
Yeah. So that's the one. That's one of them that I'll definitely be looking at. But yeah, that's good to know. No, I wasn't aware that there was like a system to help us out to to differentiate the good ones from the bad ones. And
Yeah.
I'm comfortable at saying that because there are some bad ones out there. Someone who works like a week on a game and call it a day, and that's the game. So we're trying to
Well,
avoid that.
I think my buddy Patty there, he did it. I don't know if it was 2021 or 2022, but he did a best of list, which was pretty nice and comprehensive in there as well. And yeah,
Awesome.
there's some of them out there, and yeah, might require a bit of digging, but
Yeah. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it
There's one that really stands out, and I think it's called like As Divine Heart or something like that. That's probably one of the most popular RPG Maker game out there, right?
sorry, what was it called? As
Oh,
Divine?
As Divine Heart. Or
That one,
oh, you never see? I heard it. They even have like a physical version. They have like a limited run game released their games
oh,
on.
sorry, oh maybe, oh, sorry, just Divine Heart?
Oh, Divine Heart. Oh, maybe it is Divine Heart. I'm not sure,
No, maybe
but
not.
yeah. Anyway, so that one really stands out. It's made by a company. What are they called? There's a company out there, something soft, I think, and all they do is publish RPG Maker games. You know what? I'll DM you it. I'll get
Okay,
to
fair
it
enough.
because
And
I'm sure you're
yeah,
familiar with that.
yeah, hook me with the link. And honestly, it is. I mean, I can't speak to that one, so I don't want to say
Yeah.
anything good or bad on that one. But there is some reported quote unquote publishers out there that they're up to some shady stuff as well. So
Yeah.
there's not too many. I mean, to be fair, the community is
Yeah.
pretty good about like watching out and looking out for one another. But there's some where we'll put it this way: I've got them blocked, and I don't deal with them. So
Yeah, I get it. But I think that one stands out as a good one, though. Just to be clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
All right, cool. Well, let's end it like that. But before we do, let's go ahead and look at the poll. So I ask, what type of player are you? Are you into story or are you into speed runners? Looks like 80% of the people in the chat are into stories, and 20% are into speed running. So that's pretty cool. I should have put maybe something I'm in between, like
Options.
myself, but
Depends
but
on the day.
yeah, exactly. Oh, Granite, no, we're just ending, Granite. Sorry, you'll have to watch the replay. I'm sorry. But okay, once again, Gal, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it for you to taking the time to come in here and do this interview with me. Gladiator recommended the game to me from you, and it was very short notice. I was missing a spot here this Friday last week, and you accepted, and again, super appreciated and really looking forward to your game. Is there anything you would like to say before we end the stream?
Just a big thanks to everybody. Thanks for inviting me on. Thanks to everybody who came to take a listen, and thanks to everybody who's taken an interest in the game. Just a giant amount of thanks and appreciation to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone, and have yourself a wonderful weekend. Bye, everyone.